Indiana Jones, Indiana. It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the podcast where we get to the heart of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, one ceremonial washcloth at a time. I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm the intern, Jerry Porter.
And today I'm excited to welcome back our old friend Andrew Hawthorn from the No Time for Heroics podcast. You probably remember him from the truck chase minutes in Raiders and that magical moment when Indy and the truck driver share a warm human smile.
Oh,
I'm still writing a lot of slash fiction about those two. I think that they've got a future.
Oh my God! That was I think that was the moment that invented the sad bell.
it should have been.
I think it was. Yeah, I think that might have been.
He's probably okay though, Jerry. You never know.
Yeah, if he landed just right, he's probably fine.
Yeah.
He's still smiling. Yep.
Yeah, not bad, Indy. Well, welcome back, Andrew.
Thank you. It's an honor to be back. I absolutely love this movie. And I've been champing at the bit to defend this movie against you bunch of jackals.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, only two of us are jackals.
Wait a minute. Maybe like 1.5 of us are
Yeah,
jackals.
maybe like 1 3/4 are jackals.
I actually like this movie, even if I have lots of negative
Oh, really?
things to say.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, am
Wow,
that's all
I
right.
the jackal? I'm the jackal.
Dear listener, you're going to have to wonder who is the jackal. Find out when we get to Indiana Jones and the Curse of the Jackal Minute, when we start doing the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Oh, my God. That joke's going to stop being funny one of these days.
Yeah, real soon, probably. Well, before we get to Indiana Jones and the Curse of Jerry's Jackal, we are going to talk about minute 66, which begins with an empty glowing iron cage being lifted out of the lava trapdoor and Mola Ram walking off stage. I said Mola Ram just for you, Jer. And it ends with Indy identifying the rock taken from Mayapur village.
Well, I appreciate that, Pete, and I'm gonna throw one back at you. At the beginning of this minute 66, we see more evidence of the Pete Mummert "Come one, come all." See the famous Mola Ram perform impossible cardiac feats right before your eyes. The magic show. You had your magic show theory, and we see the iron cage hoisted back up from the lava pit. Sans Larry. But if you're in the congregation, you never see him actually immolated. And, so maybe he quietly exited the cage and now runs a ski lift in Idaho. I don't know. But I know we kind of talked about this the previous few minutes, but you get that shot in the beginning of this minute as if you're one of the Temple of Doom parishioners. And you're like, well, okay, I guess the cage went down and the cage went up, and I guess the guy's gone.
The lady was cut in half. You can see it with your own eyes.
And then right afterwards, Mola Ram walks into it just looks like the most inviting, cool blue fog. Like it just looks like the air conditioner's blasted in there. And it just I'm sure he just walks in there and takes off his hat and sits back and puts his hand behind his head and just like, that was a great show.
Time to get ready for the 7 o'clock, yeah.
You mean like that little I guess it's on the right hand side of the altar, that little blue door.
Yeah.
Well, it's on both sides. Yeah, both sides you can.
Okay, I was wondering, is that like the entrance to the sacristy? Like in a Catholic church, there's kind of behind the altar, to the right of the altars, like that's where like I guess priests or Mola Ram would put on their vestments.
Your local Mola Ram would go back there. Yeah.
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 They keep their the wafers back there, or the fingers, or what have you.
Exactly. The rotator cuffs.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that they are really great at spectacle. Like everything about this, like the steam and the smoke and the colors and the music and everything is really like top notch at this point.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and the music especially, like this whole scene, it's almost the emotional climax of the whole thing so far, and it's its own kind of beginning and middle and end, and the music is a lot of that it just builds and builds to this explosion when the heart bursts into flame, and then it dies down just a little, enough for you to catch your breath before they bring out the stones in a sec. And yeah, this whole scene is really cool at just playing that kind of burst of what is going on here.
Yeah.
And we get the music sounds a lot like Duel of the Fates. Like
I was
we really
noticing
have the
that
co-ed
too.
choir come in. Yeah, I wonder if this
Yeah.
was sort of the inspiration for that.
I gotta say, I'm not a fan of Duel of the Fates.
You don't like Duel of the Fates?
Yeah,
Nah, see, that's a lot of reaction is like that. I don't know. I don't.
Wait,
yeah, I
wait
don't
a
know.
minute. Wait a minute. Is that the one that goes dun 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 dun?
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
My wife sings to that. She sings the lyrics, "Big fat idiot, big fat idiot."
It's a shocked reaction because Duel of the Fates was our life preserver to hang on to. Like, at least then this is good.
See, I
Oh
don't.
my
Yeah,
God.
I think that's why I don't like it. It's like such an emblem of that movie that I'm like, nope. That was a tough summer.
Well, I mean, look, it's a tough summer either way. I mean, if you have no Duel of the Fates, or even if you just have Duel of the Fates, I mean,
Yeah.
it's still a sad bell either way.
That's true.
I'm gonna go down though. I like Duel of the Fates.
Heck
Oh,
yeah.
really? I'm surprised.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
Yeah, we all like Duel of the Fates, Tom.
I'm the jackal. I'm the jackal.
You're the jackal now.
Spoilers, I'm the jackal.
Is Tom the Jackal? Tune in when we do Young Indiana Jones and the Curse of the Jackal Minute.
I don't wanna.
You were talking about the magic show, though. I know you guys got a little into the psychic healing thing, but could I add a bit to that? Because it's really
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
interesting. So, and also just to balance some of the Orientalizing against the Hindu religion that's going on in this particular picture against Indians and Sri Lankans. But this is actually a Christian practice. Pete may have mentioned earlier that it is from the Philippines, but it's a Filipino Christian phenomenon, psychic healing, which is the typical thing that you see with where somebody kind of reaches into your belly and draws out your disease or your tumors, and really they're just kind of palming chicken guts, right? And that's what this
Yeah.
kind of playing off of. It became really popular in the 70s, and we were all way into mysticism from the East, but we all didn't really want to pay attention to which East we were talking about. So we kind of just lumped it all together at the time, and that's probably why we're seeing a Filipino Christian practice being performed by a Shaktist Hindu Indian god man in this scene. So that's confusing.
Well, I mean, the fact that you mentioned that, Andrew, maybe this whole Temple of Doom religion, I guess it's a cult of Kali, but they do seem to have this syncretism going on, because they borrow the human sacrifice elements kind of from the Aztec, religion, or the Mesoamericans, and then this, I guess, is some of it at least is from the Christian religion in the Philippines, and it's a real hodgepodge gumbo.
Right.
Yeah.
And they drink. I don't know who. We're the blood drinking.
That's Christian, right? That's the
Yeah.
blood
Oh,
of
yeah.
Christ, right?
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, literally, early Christians were considered cannibals by the Romans, because they kept talking about eating flesh and drinking blood. Everybody thought they were nuts.
Oh, it's bread, man. It's bread. It's okay. It's wine. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just talking.
And did you guys talk about Andy Kaufman's connection to this, by the way?
No.
No.
Okay, so
But I'm 100% in on this, whatever you're about to say.
Yeah.
exactly. So the thing is that this whole thing with particularly the flesh pulling as a religious practice, or pulling out people's organs, was really big in 1984, and part of that is because in March of that year, Andy Kaufman spent a bunch of time in the Philippines having psychic surgery done on himself to cure his lung cancer, and that became a huge deal. And he was big into this, transcendental meditation, all this Eastern religion stuff that is fueling the weird quasi mythology behind this movie. And ultimately,
Wow.
Andy Kaufman,
Wow.
That did not work, of course, and he died only a couple weeks before this movie came out, only about 10 days before Temple of Doom came out in May
Oh, wow.
of 1984, because his
Or did he?
Mola-Ram didn't do it right. Or did he? Yeah.
Right. Just like Larry, he's faking everybody out. He's cooling his jets with Mola Ram back there.
Pete, ever since your introduction, I'm gonna just ask, how do we know the guy? What is his name? Is it Mola Ram or Mola Ram? I mean,
Ram.
everybody keeps saying Mola Ram.
The chorus seems to be saying Mola Ram
Yes.
over and over and over and
Yeah.
over
and over again. But how do we know what the guy's name is? Do we ever hear his name in the movie?
That's a good question. Do we ever hear his name in the movie?
Oh, we do. Yeah, and at least once. I can think of it.
Right at the end, I think.
Yeah. Hey, could I bring the faith healing thing back to
do
your
it.
purview, Andrew, of superheroes? My only connection to that, it was an episode of The Incredible Hulk where David Banner was witness to like this faith healing stuff, and like he's like, oh, wait a minute, that's chicken livers. What are you guys doing?
Sure.
And they probably beat him up, and then he turned into the Hulk and stuff. But that's the only thing I can think of when you talk about that stuff.
And that's right in the wheelhouse of when this was a popular kind of misconception.
Yeah.
Because it was on like In Search of with Leonard Nimoy, and there was a big documentary about it in 1977 that really kind of made everybody in the U.S. and in the West, really, I should say, be really like, oh yeah, maybe they've got all the answers over there. I should go and do this. And even today, faith healing and believing in phony miracles are almost as much of a problem in India as they are in the U.S. And
Really?
Yeah, and so not so much the psychic healing again, because that's from the Philippines, but certainly more popular stuff from characters called godmen or gurus. And just a little while ago, in 2008, there's a lot of people trying to work to change this in India right now, to kind of clear out all the Mola Rams, if you will. And chief among them is a guy named Sanal Edamakaru, who in 2008, he challenged a guy to kill him on TV using black magic as a Mola Ram might. And the guy, believe it or not, failed to do that.
Oh, man.
Wow.
But he took the challenge.
He took the challenge, but it was one of the most watched things in India at the time, and he totally failed to do this. So that's what we're doing. But one of the interesting things about that, and bring it back to Mola Ram, is while they weren't doing this kind of psychic healing, what they would do is kind of a cadre of other miracles, fake miracles, and one of those things is making things burst into flame to impress people, right? And so. You're like, basically Pete's magic show idea is totally valid as a theory of what's going on here. Mola Ram is a big costume. He's putting on the fireworks show for these people. He pulls out the chicken guts, takes that guy off stage, bursts the chicken guts into flame. This is all very by the book, kind of a fake guy trying to fleece these people. Like, yeah, now go get me some gems downstairs.
Maybe I just think I saw the guy burst into flames. Maybe it's all just like power of suggestion and stuff.
I feel like he's taking him into that back room. He's gonna be like, and with this tincture, you can cure dandruff.
Yeah, he's actually the snake oil salesman from Pete's Dragon after he takes off that weird hat.
Actually, Andrew, you mentioned you mentioned weird mask and you mentioned costumes. And I had a question for this minute. Do Mola Ram and his acolytes apply the face paint themselves? Or do they paint each other 10 minutes prior to showtime?
Well, Kiss did their own makeup, didn't they? Like each member did their own, I think.
Wow.
I don't know.
I didn't know that.
I think I'm making that up.
But that's fine. Everybody's making everything up, apparently.
I just
That's
remember
right.
in elementary school, like, you'd go to that like back to school night and they'd have like face painting and they'd always have a little sign that said "No kiss allowed." Like,
Oh man.
That's hysterical.
Well, it's just, I mean, some of those guys, like, they have a rather elaborate face paint. They're kind of skull,
They do?
black and white sort of thing. And I'm like, that's a lot of work if you're going to apply it yourself. I mean, and then I thought, does the paint stay on 24/7? Because if you're in a sweltering lava mine,
Are you talking about these Baron Samedi looking guys that come out with the stones here?
Yeah, the Stone guys, and also Mola Ram. I mean, he's got he's got some paint adornment on his head, right?
His little scalp thing going, yeah.
Well, I was wondering about these guys, and I was wondering, they look like mimes to me. Like maybe these guys are mimes. And so I decided maybe we should put up the mime signal and ask our resident mime expert, S.E. Angerman, you may remember as Sean German, from a couple weeks back from 5 Minutes of Mime. And let's see what he has to say.
Hey guys, central to the ceremony are 5 silent figures in black and white face makeup. Some might wonder if this is an example of mime, and I think it is. There is a long tradition of silent performance and mime in Indian culture. Some recent forms of dance, developed in the last millennium, incorporate more elaborate makeup and costume. But what we're seeing in minute 66 is an example of a classical Indian musical theater, an art dating back to 400 BC. The presence of the 3 Sankara stones may be misleading to someone familiar only with types of mime which forego props. However, in acting out the union of linga and yani, the 5 silent figures use precise body position and hand gestures indicative of mime. I'm more an expert in mime than Hindu mythology, but I think what we are seeing is a dance expressing the joining of male and female in the act of creation. The linga, the embodiment of Siva, and yani, symbol of his goddess consort, come together to represent the union of divine reality. This is an echo of Indian Willie biting the apple in minute 48. As always, I'm your humble servant, S.E. Angerman.
The Temple of Doom is, I think we can all agree, that's a sweltering hot place. And if you're talking about applying face paint and you're going to wear that, that's just a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of paint touch-ups.
Maybe it's tattoos like Darth Maul or something.
Or maybe it's all sunscreen and they're all actually really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it.
Well, I keep thinking it's not because nobody's sweating. Like Indy's putting on a heavy coat, like a winter coat and a hat.
Yeah.
So I think that's all part of the magic show. Like I think it's actually all nice and air conditioned in there.
No one realizes for years, like, wait, lava's supposed to be hot, right? I know it's glowy and swirly, but that might not be lava.
What's interesting, though, is if you look at the lava pit in this minute, you see that the flames are licking up all the way to the altar.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So and I think previously we talked about it's like 100 feet down or 80 feet down. I mean, those flames are really going up high.
It's volatile.
Yeah. You know, going back to the show business theory of all of this, though, like this is a very strange follow-up to what just happened because you had this whole kind of magic / faith healing act, and he goes off stage. You get these 3 Baron Samedi guys, and they all, if you subscribe to the Shiva Lingam phallus theory, what you have here is 3 guys come out, whip a covering off of his little stone to raucous whoops and applause from a crowd of men across the way. Yeah. He just exposes his stone, and then these guys go nuts. It's actually kind of a pretty weird subtext to suddenly follow this up with.
I'm not following you. What do you mean?
I'll tell you when you're older, but...
Okay, thank you.
Hey, listen, if somebody can tell Shorty, if Indy can tell Shorty, then we can tell Tommy.
I'll get Shorty to tell Tommy about this.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, though, that with all the amazing spectacle and performance they put on, these sort of like dingy washcloths that they're using to cover the stones seem a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
Hey, be careful. Those are hundreds of years old.
Right. Shouldn't be handling them like that. Well, I keep wondering, like, I never thought of this until I watched it now, but like, does they just had this human sacrifice, apparently had this human sacrifice, but like, is that somehow connected to them, like, now bringing out the stones and like, because this seems to be like the end of like the ceremony or something, but you'd think that these would be like the most important thing or something?
Why, was it Andrew or Jerry? I already forgot. One of you said this is like they show them the performance and they're like, okay, guys, back down into the mines to dig up these stones. Like it's kind of a nice little marketing thing.
Yeah, your work is working here. Look, we are finding stones, so good for you.
Your
Keep
tax dollars at work.
Yeah. what Mola Ram is saying during all of it. Have you talked about the translation of what he's saying?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he's doing this whole thing about how Kali is giving him power because of sacrifice, and he's got this guy's life in his fist. His life is in my fist, and and so like this is it. Like that was part of it to make the sacrifice. And here's the power. Here is the power we've got. We've got 3 stones. We need 5 though. Back down into the mine. But at least they glow. So I feel it is a logical end of that, but it's like a different part, and it's an interesting thing in terms of the movie because the climax it's building to is the guy's heart bursting into flame, and then it kind of calms down, but then you have another musical climax when they bring out the stones, and Indy's like, stones, and everybody's kind of changing their gears here.
And when the stones are finally presented, I guess at the end of the ceremony. It's the
first time we've seen them, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is,
and what's interesting is the whole congregation does the wave.
Yeah, like the Gangnam Style wave.
Yeah.
They all do that like lasso thing.
They do that lasso spin over their head. And I'm like, what does that signify? I mean, what's the significance of that? Because, if you're Catholic, you do the sign of the cross, and you're like, oh, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And you kind of, I get that, but what's the lasso signify?
I think these guys are all just big fans of Arsenio Hall. Is anybody old enough to get that?
It was the 80s.
Or we were talking about, like Tom just mentioned, it could be a bullwhip too. Like we're talking about, this could all just be a performance for Indy. And if he looks down and he sees all these guys doing a bullwhip thing, he's like, oh God, this is amazing.
They worship bullwhips just like I do. Sign me
These
up.
guys might be all right, Shorty. I don't know.
Well, Andrew, you mentioned the 3 stones. Well, actually, first of all, Tom, I like your question. You're like, so now the stones come out, and you're like, but I guess we interrupted the ceremony somewhere in the middle. I mean, was the whole thing just a 3-minute ceremony? Or was it an hour long and we missed the first part of it, like the first 57 minutes?
I think that we see some of the pre-show in the later version of this ceremony because before they bring out, spoilers, but before they bring out Willie into the little cage, and Indy is there, he's reciting like the reading of Kali Ma protects us. So I imagine that before like the big show came out and Mola Ram came out and did his thing, like all the weird little acolytes were out there chanting and trying to fire up the crowd so they'd be hot when he got there,
I'm now thinking about this. Maybe they recruit new congregants just because their ceremonies are so damn short. You know what I mean? It's like, like, hey, there's this new church. It's a little weird. You know what I mean? They do, a lot of pomp and circumstance with hearts.
I recommend
skulls.
The 5:30.
Yeah, you're over at 5:37.
If you miss that one, go to the 5:35.
Yeah, exactly. They make it sound like the whole ceremony is like 5 minutes. And, that is appealing.
Sure. You know what's not appealing, though, is after these guys place their stones in the skull, one of them is walking backwards on that trapdoor down to the lava.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me enough to do that now.
Well, that makes me so nervous because he does it backwards, and he does it, he gets right to the edge of that lava pit, too. Like, I keep thinking he's going to just
he's
keep
backing
walking
towards a pit, standing on another different pit. The guy is dead. It's DED.
Well, Andrew, you mentioned, we see the 3 stones come together, and I would like it if you guys could walk me through this Sankara stone thing by the numbers.
Oh, I'd love it too. I got lots of questions.
So,
okay,
we're clear. 1 Sankara stone ensures a prosperous village. Your wells are brimming with water. Your cattle remains intact. You get to keep your kids. 3 Sankara stones lets you rip a man's heart out and keep him alive, which is a complete waste if you immolate him seconds later.
Yeah.
And 5 Sankara stones is total world domination.
Yeah, if you have 5 stones,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is that basically the Ark of the Covenant? If you have 5 stones, you just carry them around with you, and it's great
Yes.
for
Yeah.
you somehow.
Yeah.
I think it's levels. You got it, but I'm pretty sure Kali is doing the heart thing on her own. She doesn't need the stones at all.
Well, see, that's what's confusing because
He was doing
sort
that
of,
already, right?
Well, he invokes Kali, and what it's like through the power invested. Then I guess Mola Ram has the ability to. We talked about this previous minutes. I don't know. Maybe Kali gives Mola Ram the hand strength to get past that that rib cage, that stubborn rib cage.
He looks really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or does it make the guy's rib cage, the victim's rib cage, turn to pot pie?
I think this is all the Kali show, because later Indy has the stones. Mola Ram no longer possesses them, and he's still attempting this kind of stuff. We presume that he can still do it. But
That's a good point.
I think
Yeah.
I think what you have here is like warring gods that are kind of like Shiva's like, oh, check out all my awesome stones down there, and Kali's like, I gotta get those.
But still, I mean, look, there's a huge leap between, possessing 3 stones and possessing 5 stones. And so
Well, maybe
clearly,
if the villagers were evil, maybe they could be ripping people's hearts out with just 1 stone. But they just thought it was a neat rock. They didn't know that it was like a magical, Sankara
Shiva-linga?
stone.
Well, they knew it was a Shiva.
They knew it was a Shiva Linga.
Yeah,
they didn't know
they
it was a
didn't know it was a
Sankara
Sankara.
stone.
well, I feel like the power of the Sankara stones is exponential. And so I'm
Yeah.
wondering, so
It seems to
what
be.
would having 4 do? Like, what could you do if you had 4 of them? And then where would you put it? There's like one in the eye, one in the other eye.
I hate that so much. It drives me bananas. Because there's even 5 guys there right now, and they're all backing up and kneeling. Okay, so the other 2 guys will get the other 2 stones. But yeah, where do you put it in that dumb skull head?
It's great because in the next scene, when they're inside Mola Ram's room in the back before Indy drinks the blood, the stones are on little slots in the wall, and there's 5 slots, and 2 are empty. So they planned ahead then, but not here.
Right. And can I just say, I was actually going to say this for the next minute, but we're talking about it now. Noses are funny. Like, noses are inherently funny. So if you put a glowing rock in a nose of like an otherwise scary skull thing, it's not scary anymore. It looks very goofy to me.
It's just immediately Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah. Or like
okay.
a goofy jack-o'-lantern or something. Kind of ruins
That's
it.
why Indy gets kidnapped. He gets down there, and he's just like, oh, I'm going to take the... Oh, what was that?
Right back. It's going to be a piece of cake.
Well, you remember... I'm just imagining putting the Sankara stones glowing. The guy goes for the nose. He's like, shh, no, not in the nose. Never. We never
That's
put one in the
ridiculous.
nose. Yeah.
You're trying to make us look
about it.
silly?
Think
Jerry,
about
in
what
terms
Tom
of the
said.
power of the stones, I think that they're measured in edifices because I think 1 stone, it takes a village. 2 stones... 2 stones is
taken
probably
from a
kind of a small municipality. 3 stones is clearly a palace with a roomy basement. So, once you get 5 stones, you're on to like nations and things like that. Probably 4 stones is like a good sized city. So,
Or maybe, in this case, like the satrap.
yeah.
But if you have 5 stones, how do you lose stones?
I don't know, the traditional way.
But like if you rule the world, like it seems like you would almost have to lose them on purpose.
Well, let's be clear. Wait, Kali had all 5 stones and disseminated them, right?
No, they had some of the stones. They like the impression that they're talking about because their priests hid the stones. But those were the stones they used to have. These 3 stones they've taken from somewhere else.
So you're saying they had the other 2?
They had the other 2 because Mola Ram says they hid them. Like loyal thuggy priests hid the other 2 stones.
But so at some point somebody had 5 stones. Like some guy had all 5
Sankara
stones.
did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sankara did.
But how did he lose 2 of the stones, or how did he lose 3 of the stones, or was he just a nice guy and started handing them out to villages?
Oh, I think Isildur got them
Yeah.
from
I
Sauron
was
and then
just
didn't chuck them
waiting,
into the Mount Doom. Oh,
Something happened that no one could have predicted.
nobody could have predicted.
Yeah. King Lear divided his kingdom in 5, and everybody took a stone. Yeah, it was a poor choice.
We're friends, Jerry.
Yep.
Well, I do like we go like one of the things that one of our bonus episodes between Raiders and Temple of Doom, we talked to Chris Hopkins, who made the teaser trailer, and he said when they gave him instructions on making the poster, they just said make it red, and starting in this scene, this movie becomes very, very red.
That, yeah.
From the lighting to the way people look to
Yeah.
the paint to everything's
To
very,
Mola
very red
Ram's
from now on.
head.
Yeah. When I was watching this, like I hadn't seen this, in 20 or something years. And then I watched it, as we were getting ready for this. And around this scene, I was like, oh, we're like almost the rest of the movie is in the Temple of Doom, isn't it? Like we're underground, like in this dark red place for like almost the rest of the movie, aren't we? And that kind of blew me away.
Ever since the Jaws cave, right? Everything is about red and the color red.
Yeah.
And if you see in Rinsler's book as well as the really great book that I don't think is around anymore, From Star Wars to Indiana Jones, which is like close-ups of the Lucasfilm archives. They talk about this set and how it was designed to kind of light itself, and how there were all these red lights with gels hidden in every nook and cranny in the set, and so they could kind of just allow it to be what it is when they go in here. And I think Spielberg said it was the biggest set he'd filmed on at the time.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
I believe it.
And yeah, it was all kind of a working set that was designed to work itself, except for the pit, which was actually a miniature. It was a giant miniature, but it was like a 30-foot drop to drop a puppet down into this like churning viscous fluid that they lit from below. But the whole thing lit itself with these red lights.
Wow. Oh, that's
What's
cool.
what's a giant miniature?
Well, going back to Lord of the Rings, Jerry, they coined the term bigatures working on that, but unfortunately people are already building giant, think of a basement full of model trains. It's like that.
Yeah.
Ah, all right. Tommy.
Yeah.
At the very end of this minute, we have a Johnny Says What He Sees.
Oh, we totally do. Yeah. Or Rick Oley, as I'm starting to think of it.
I think we need to.
That's the rock they took from the village.
Yeah.
Remember, Shorty, remember that village we were at? And there were like the 3 lines on the rock, but the rock wasn't there. That's where it is now.
I was watching this and I saw that and I was like, oh, we need a sound effect for Johnny Says What He Sees.
There's a lot of that in this movie, which is too bad.
Well, that's
I'm
because
surprised
the
you didn't
rest
call it
of
the good luck rock. That's the good luck rock that I talked to you about when I was ignoring you.
Hey, Shorty, do those lines look like the 3 levels of the universe to you, or what? Yeah, thought so.
Score.
I will ask though, these guys, these mime guys, all look like they're wearing dog tags. Like these necklaces kind of look like dog tags. And I was kind of wondering, like, is it possible, like, if this is all spectacle, is it possible we've been looking at this all sort of from the Western eyes, and maybe we've been looking at it wrong? Is it possible these guys are all good guys? And are these possibly rebel soldiers ready to take on the Empire?
I knew you'd say that, Pete. Yeah. It's just.
I mean, Kali thinks they're good guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean by good guys? Why are they good guys?
Well, is this a ploy to attack the British Empire? Like, are they trying to get back at an oppressive power, and is this how they're going about doing it?
I mean, the British Empire is part of the world, and they're trying to dominate that. So I guess yes.
Yeah. By default, yeah.
God, it's so weird how they treat that in this movie. It's really weird.
Yeah.
So here's a question about this though. Like, is this a legitimate threat? Like, there are legitimate things that India is trying to accomplish and fight against here, such as child slavery and the theft of rocks. But at any time, do you think that Mola Ram's threat that they're going to cast down all the religions and take over the world? Maybe I'm getting ahead of us here, but like, is that something he can achieve even with these rocks? I don't know.
I do have a hard time picturing him even leaving the Temple of Doom, really.
Yeah.
He seems very comfortable there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you're right. If he has all 5 rocks, I mean, do we believe? I mean, that's really grandiose plan there. He's going to take over the world, and he's just that close.
Yeah.
I don't think he can do it. But I think that like there's a legitimate threat of to life and limb for Indy, who's just trying to survive this. But also
Sure.
like the kids and the rocks, like that's kind of enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, I will
Yeah.
say, I mean, that's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I don't think I've ever watched that movie and sat there and thought, oh my God, this guy is really close to taking over the whole world.
Oh, not at all. Yeah. I can't. I mean, I see the rocks and I'm like, okay. Oh, they glow. That's cool. Weird.
And you're supposed to believe that because they do have Kali as a character in the movie. You know what I mean? There is
Or
an
a statue
actual,
in the movie.
Yeah, but I mean, he does rip the heart out, and they do kind
I
of have the
suppose,
yeah.
Kali wind and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean,
True.
you're supposed to think that doom is right around the corner. I mean, hence the name.
Yeah.
Well, presumably Doom is in every room around here because
Yeah.
Really.
You know what? There was in Raiders, there was a lot more stuff that they had to have happen. You know what I mean? Like the arc flies all over the place. You know what I mean? They go from Tanis to Malta, and like then it's supposed to go to Berlin, and it's just a much bigger production than a cave. A mine in the basement of a palace that just has child labor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not very efficient.
well, I mean, this is a more efficient method of storytelling because it's obeying Aristotelian unities of place, whereas Raiders is all over the place. So there's that, I guess. I don't know if that helps.
But it's consistently foggy though. It's not clear, and it gets worse like in the next minute too. It's just not. His quest is super muddy the entire time. Like we're talking about the kids. He doesn't even know about the kids. He knows the kids are missing from the village, but he doesn't know that they're here. He doesn't know what condition they're in and stuff. So like that's not even on his mind right now. And he just saw the stones.
He doesn't know what the deal is. He's about to, but like part of the point of Indiana Jones as a character, at least according to Harrison Ford, how he got into it via interviews I've seen on like DVDs and stuff, is what attracts people to the character is the pleasure he takes in the hunt, right? Like he's figuring stuff out, like how he looks in the map room when he's sweeping up the hieroglyphs and stuff like that. That was his on this character. And so that's the stage of the movie we're in here, that he's just he's like, wow, look, these statues move, and let's go into this cave and see what's in there. He's just figuring that out, but he doesn't know why necessarily yet. He's just following clues.
Yeah, but the problem is, at dinner, he told everybody he's investigating.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's no map room where he like has to sneak down, and Sala has to be like,
Yeah.
I mean, he accused Chatterlall,
That's a classic James Bond technique, right? Just walk into the room and say, "Hey, by the way, I'm James Bond."
Right, where's my martini?
If I'm here, you have kids in your basement.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Hey,
Oh.
this just in from Professor Christy Porter.
Oh, hey.
Oh.
So that happened.
Wow.
Yep.
That is pretty funny, actually.
I mean, so I do have to add, like, this whole scene, like, ending here is probably the second most iconic moment of the entire series. After and I was going around for a while calling it the most iconic moment because I think, like, when people talk about Indiana Jones, one of the first things people are going to mention is like, oh yeah, getting your heart ripped out. But
Yeah,
my
definitely.
wife corrected me on this. And really, the iconic moment of Indiana Jones is the boulder chase at the beginning of Raiders, which it should be. But this scene really it surpasses the whole rest of the movie, but it's a really great scene.
What you mean? Just the reveal of the stones? You mean? Is that what you're saying?
No. The entire sacrifice, the Temple of Doom.
okay.
Yeah.
Like as soon as Indy
okay.
enters the titular Temple of Doom,
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
to the point where he swings down and is going after the stones again. This entire thing is what hit people, like you said, aside from the meal, about this movie, and it really stays with you,
Yeah.
That's an excellent question, because I view I view the whole series very Raiders centric. Hence, that's why I'm the Jackal. So, but that's a good
Jackal.
Is Pete the Jackal? Find out when we do Young Indiana Jones and the Curse of the Jackal Minute.
There's like a big close-up of Pete's face with a big question mark over it.
If you're thinking about all the Indiana Jones, just Indiana Jones with no specific movie, I would agree with you. I think the heart ripping out scene might be the most iconic for the entire series, and I'm not happy about that. Really,
well, I think monkey brains are up there too.
Monkey brains would be there too.
This movie nailed two of the most iconic Indiana Jones moments in all of the movies,
and one of them's stupid.
Oh, you guys!
I mean, face melting is huge.
I was gonna say, like, face melting, truck chase. What's going on here? I feel like I'm losing my mind. What's going on? Monkey brains?
No. I mean, the truck chase is awesome, but honestly, the top three most like the things people remember about Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah, the things
Boulder
people
chase,
remember.
Yeah.
Heart ripping,
Yeah.
gross meal. Like that's got to be the top three before you get to the truck chase. It's a great truck chase, but when they approached this movie, they wanted to up the volume on everything, for better or for worse, and they did it at least with those two scenes.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not getting deep into my defense of this movie in this movie, but I will.
All right.
Well, let's save. Yeah, let's save some of that for next minute. Andrew, before people come back tomorrow and hear your throaty defense of the Temple of Doom, is there someplace else people can find you and listen to you and hear your podcast?
Yeah, you can find me at notimeforheroics.com or better on Twitter, notime4heroics. And check out that podcast I do. We talk about superhero movies, good and bad, and we just did the Toxic Avenger from the 80s a couple episodes ago, which turned out to be kind of nuts. And also the little-known Scott Bakula vehicle I-Man, in which he's an invincible super spy in the 80s.
Wow.
So yeah,
Awesome.
we also do superheroes you've heard of sometimes.
No, I love your show. Your show's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I have to catch up with I-Man. I'm unfamiliar with I-Man.
Yeah, you're never going to find it.
I'll have to fix it.
We had to find a VCR that worked in order to watch a copy of it.
Wow.
Oh my God.
If someone wants to maybe hear your full-throated defense of Temple of Doom, Jerry, where might they do that?
Oh, I would encourage them to come to our Facebook page, Indiana Jones Minute and the Listener's Crusade, where there's all sorts of threads about bats and motorcycle wheelies and jackals and Temple of Doom things, and it's actually a lot of fun. Yeah, there's a lot of Pete's trading cards. Yeah, there's you can collect them all. Yeah, they're posted there as long as as well as the IndianaJonesMinute.com website. So that's what I would encourage everybody to do.
Yeah, thank you. And you can also find our guest today, Andrew J. Hawthorn, on our page on the Facebook group Indiana Jones Minute and the Listener's Crusade. And if you want to join us there, please do. Otherwise, join us right back here tomorrow for minute 67 of the Indiana Jones Minute.
Stones?
Stones!
Karima,